Welcome back to the CU Sports Magazine. I'm Todd Gary, and I'm joined by a new face this week on the show. Michelle Post joins us as our new anchor. Welcome to the show, Michelle.
Thank you, Todd.
Well, it's good to have you. We'll start out with something easy this week. Football, as we usually do. The men's team had a real good week. They hosted Missouri here at Kansas State. They needed a win to stay in the race for a second-place spot in the Big 8 and a shot at a New Year's Day Bowl. What they had in front of them was a Missouri team that had only won 2 games on the year, and none of them in the Big 8. Let's head out to Folsom Field, where the Buffs honored their 7 graduating seniors before the game. Starting cornerback T.J. Cunningham was the first down the field for the Buffs. Then Kerry Hicks, the starting defensive tackle, made his way down. Then Heath Irwin, one of the front 5 for CU's offensive line, got a cheer. Then Donnell Meady, the strong safety from American Samoa. Darrell Price next. Then Brian Stoltenberg, one of the best. Finally, Neil Voskerichian, the senior kicker. And wait, who's that? It's our own Spencer Miller, the senior starting host from the CU Sports Magazine. CU comes out firing in this one. Hustler looking in the blustery wind for James Kidd downfield. Missouri interferes on the play, and CU gets a first down. Take a closer look. The Missouri defender knows he's beaten, and all he can do is just keep Kidd from catching the ball. The next play, Hessler rolls out right and finds the big man with the soft hands. Matt Lepsis pulls it in and thunders for a first down to the Missouri 31. Hessler looking to go deep in the wind, but the Tigers put the pressure on. The sack, the fumble, and the recovery by CU by sophomore Andrew Welsh, who's filling in for Clint Moore. Then CU is forced to kick the field goal, but Voskerichian has it goes off his foot, and the Buffs walk away empty-handed from this drive. On defense, Matt Russell steps up and fills the gap. Missouri goes nowhere on their next drive. Then Hessler, back to work. Ray Caruth, leading receiver in the Big 8, over the middle, 10 yards and a first down. Then Hessler hits Kidd for a short gain, setting up this play. It looks pretty as it develops the fake end around. Somebody's got to be open, but look what happens to this ball when it leaves his hand. Quack! Quack! That's what a 60-mile-an-hour wind will do to the long ball. Missouri gets its first interception of the day, but they aren't able to go anywhere, something the defense made sure of all day for CU. But the Buffs kept making some of the mistakes that hurt them in their last 4 games. Coach or team moved early. Neuheisel says, we have to stop making these mistakes. But Neuheisel stayed with the air grain. Chris Anderson picking up 20 yards on the slant. Then Hessler to Kidd, who had a big day for CU with 5 catches, good for 77 yards. Then watch Hessler do his impression of John Elway. He scrambles out of the pocket, avoids a tackle, running towards the sideline, throws across his body, and finds James Kidd at the 2-yard line. Take another look at Kidd on the play. This is good coaching, folks. He sees the play is busted and still gets open in the middle of 4 Missouri defenders. On the next play, Hessler rolls right, showing bootleg, but no, it's the big man again with the soft hands. Matt Lepsis scoring his 2nd touchdown in 2 weeks. CU would hold the Tigers again. Then it was Marlon Barnes turn to go to work after 4 missed tackles and 2 Missouri defenders. Barnes is pulled down. Then the speedster Ray Caruth pulls one in for a nice gain and a first down. CU looking to take a 10-0 lead into the halftime. But the short field goal, Voskerichian had to hold up because of the pressure and pooches it off to the side. Missouri would recover, but they weren't able to advance it, so the Buffs take a 7-0 lead into the locker room, even though they dominated the Tigers in the first half. So CU playing real good defense in this one, Michelle.
Very good defense, and they needed this defensive win. Let's head back out to Folsom Field for the second half, where the wind didn't slow down much, so Rick Neuheisel decided to go with the ground game. And he goes to the little man. Herschel Troutman busts it up the middle for a 23-yard run. And it's Troutman again, and he goes over tackle for another big gain of 24 yards. Despite the wind, John Hessler still had a good day, throwing 2 touchdown passes, including this one to James Kidd. And CU takes the lead 14-0. On Missouri's next possession, Jones fakes the handoff, rolls out right looking for a receiver downfield, but that's not him. That's Kenny Wilkins with the interception, and CU takes over at their own 35-yard line. Then Hessler goes back to work hitting the tight end turned receiver, Matt Lepsis. Then Missouri's DeMonte Cross breaks up the handoff to Marlon Barnes, and Missouri is there to recover the fumble. The Tigers would punt the ball away. CU's offensive line would own the line all day, here opening up a gaping hole for Marlon Barnes, who keeps the drive alive with a 21-yard gain. And then it's Hessler with a pass to James Kidd. And James Kidd makes a diving catch for a first down. Then on 4th and 4, Neuheisel showing confidence in his young quarterback, calling the option. Hessler cuts it back against the pursuit. Not a Tiger in sight, and Hessler is off to the races. 37 yards later, John Hessler has his third touchdown of the game. CU goes on to win it 21-0, blanketing the Tigers, and John Hessler is the hero of the day for the Buffs. And as I said before, John, this was a great defensive win for CU. They needed this win after giving up so many points in the last few games.
Yeah, they did. They really needed a confidence builder for this defense because, as you said, they did. They had a tough game against Nebraska and Kansas in the last 4 weeks. They didn't hold Oklahoma State as well as they should have last week. They still got the win, but the defense was really starting to question themselves after playing so well in the first 4 or 5 games of the season. So CU came back, played an excellent defensive game, and they were able to hold their standings, which currently is number 9. Let's go ahead and take a look at the other top 10 in the nation right now. You see Nebraska holds on to their number 1 ranking with just a clobbering over Nebraska last week. Ohio State stays number 2 ahead of Florida. Number 4, Tennessee. 5, Northwestern. Florida State, Kansas State, you see they're number 7. Notre Dame above Colorado 8, and Colorado at 9, Texas rounding out the top 10 at 10. So four teams from the Big 8 still in the top 25, and that's pretty impressive for this conference. But CU playing well right now, Michelle.
Very well, and they needed this, especially for the Kansas State game coming up.
Yes, it is a big game coming up this week. If you haven't heard of it, it's the other big game of the week, or big game of the season for CU. Of course, the first one was Nebraska, and I think we all know what happened in that one. But the KSU game is going to be a tough one. KSU comes into this game with the number 1 defense in the country. They're only allowing 223 yards a game. Kansas State also has the number 1 allowing scoring defense in the country, allowing just under 12 points a game. And they played some tough teams, including Nebraska, they played so far. So I have a feeling Nebraska probably ran that average up a little bit because they've been holding them out. Going down the list, see some of the big players for Kansas State are going to be Joe Gordon and Chris Canty. They have good matchups with the CU receivers. They're very good defensive backs on the corners. They've allowed just 31 receptions for 410 yards in the last 8 games. That's less than 50 yards a game, Michelle. That's pretty impressive. They're allowing only 3.9 receptions and 53.1 yards a game. So excellent. And coincidentally, that's about half of what Ray Caruth on the CU Buffs is averaging. He's got 4.6 receptions and 92 yards a game. So if CU can break their backfield defense there, it's going to be a good game. But that's going to be the key, is the CU offense matching up against the Kansas State defense. What does CU offense have planned for this one, Michelle?
Very much. Well, CU's offense has 379 points this season. They're rushing. They have 402 carries for the season with 1,872 yards. They're only averaging 187 yards per game. They're averaging about 295 yards per game, and that I think they're going to need to play this up for the Kansas State game, because the Kansas State defense is ranked number 1. I mean, that tells you the whole story right there. Well,
CU does have one of the best passing offenses in the nation. They do have a Big 8 record so far this year with 22, or Kansas offense, does have a Big 8 record so far this year with 22 passing touchdowns, and so their offense is definitely nothing to scoff about. Well, Michelle had a chance to talk with John Hessler earlier this week about his plans, how the season has gone, and what he enjoys doing here at CU as the starting quarterback ahead of Koy Detmer. Let's take a look.
Excuse me, do you wear your safety belt?
Why, no, I don't wear my safety belt.
Thank you.
You could learn a lot from a dummy. Buckle your safety belt. She is one of America's toughest drug enforcement agents. Last year, she helped convict 90 drug dealers, seize several tons of crack and marijuana, and close down 10 major drug operations. She has a 68-year-old grandmother named Irma. She set up a community drug watch that is not only changing her neighborhood, but its future. There are many ways to help in your community. Call the Points of Light Foundation. Do something good. Feel something real.
What do you really give when you give blood?
Another summer. Another dance.
How you doing?
Another song. Another hug.
Good game, man. Don't worry about it.
Another date. Another moment.
When you give blood, you give another chance.
Vince, remember how we got our jobs telling people to buckle up?
Yeah, it seems just like yesterday.
Next.
To buckle or not to buckle?
Next.
Defend.
Next. We are never going to find a safety belt spokesperson.
Let's get buckled!
Yeah, we've helped save thousands of lives.
But some people still don't buckle up. So let's hit it!
You could learn a lot from a dummy. Buckle your safety belt.
Well, John Hessler has a school record 18 touchdown passes for the Buffs this year, as well as a couple running the ball, and he's really taken over this team as a leader and a player since Coy Detmer went down. You had a chance to talk to him this week. Let's take a look at what he said.
Before this year, you might not have heard of the name John Hessler, but after 16 passing touchdowns and leading the Buffs through 4 wins, John Hessler's become a household name.
4th down right here. 4th and 3, and they're going. It's closer to 3 than 2. Going big, too. It's James Kidd. He's got it. He's loose. He scored. Caruth is the man in motion. Hessler keeps it, rolls it out. Gets a block. He's in. He's in. 1 of 5 on 3rd down conversions tonight. It's Barnes in motion. Over the middle, it is caught. Savoy, touchdown, Colorado.
John Hessler's experience has been very exciting, but it has taught this athlete many lessons.
There's lots of things I've learned. I mean, I feel like I've grown up a lot the past couple months. You know, I don't know, I've started to realize how important, being prepared for a situation like I was put in is, it wasn't just luck that we beat A&M. I had a good, and me having a good game anyway. I was real prepared going into that game, because the last 3 years I've spent up here, waiting for something like this to happen, and finally it did. So, fortunately, something good happened to me. It is kind of weird getting thrown into a situation where you don't expect to, all year. I expected to play, behind Detmer all year, and I'd have been happy with that, but. I'm real excited about the opportunity I got now, and getting to play every Saturday is just, like a dream come true for me,
There are many motivations for this young quarterback.
Hessler, it all rides on his shoulders, baby.
Including 50,000 screaming fans and careless comments about asterisks made by Oklahoma coach Howard Schnellenberger.
It motivated us, in going against Oklahoma anyway, but he's just the type of coach that would, he does stuff like that. So it was nothing we didn't expect from him anyway.
With his 16th touchdown pass against Oklahoma State, Hessler broke the CU record for touchdown passes in a season, but he tends to be a bit modest about it.
That's a credit to my receivers and tight end doing a great job, and my offensive line doing a great job of, protecting me or whatever. If I get the ball into the right guy, he's going to score for me. That's what kind of athletes we got. It's just, it's exciting to, throw all them touchdowns. But again, I shouldn't get, the credit for it. Receivers and all them should.
John Hessler does spend a lot of time here at Folsom Field, but aside from football, he does have another love, which is baseball.
Well, I don't know what I'm going to be doing in baseball. I played the last couple summers and things went all right, but they don't go as well as planned because I have to be up here all summer working out and going to school. I ruined, now that I'm 21, I could be eligible to, be back in the baseball draft because out of high school, I took, I was ineligible for it because I signed to play football here. So, you know, I don't know. I haven't really been contacted about it, but you know, that's something I like to pursue because I feel, you know, I got a live arm or whatever, and have, you know, good mechanics anyway in baseball that I think somebody could do something with it. So.
With one game left in the season, Hessler is having thoughts about his future here at CU.
I mean, if the situation comes up again next year, you know, I want to step in and do a good job. So, you know, and then the year after, I still got 2 years left. So the year after, you know, I want to give it a shot to start a whole season here. That's what would be exciting to me.
John Hessler started this season as CU's backup quarterback. He finishes this season as one of the best passing quarterbacks to ever throw a pigskin here at Folsom Field. For CU Sports Magazine, I'm Michelle Post.
John Hessler, a good quarterback and a nice guy, too.
Very polite.
Very athletically talented, too. Hope he goes a long ways. Good luck in that baseball career. Football doesn't ever work out for him. But let's move on to basketball. Seems like Midnight Madness just took place a couple weeks ago, but it's already here. This week brought the opening games for the men's and women's basketball team. We'll go ahead and do the men first. The men's basketball team opened their season with an easy win over Planalto, Brazil. That's right, Planalto, Brazil. You heard me right. I've never heard of them either, but so you got a chance to work out some of their kinks and pad their stats. Let's head out to the Events Center and take a look at CU's first win of the season. The opening tip-off was about the only thing that didn't go CU's way that night. Planalto, Brazil on that one. Mac Tuck gets things rolling here with this early three, and then take a look at this freshman sensation. Chauncey Billups steals the ball, takes it down the court. No look to Mac Tuck with the dunk. High school teammates from Denver once again playing again. Freddie Edmonds and Billups. What about G-Tech transfer Martis? More of the oop for the dunk. Sophomore Matt Daniels shows his explosiveness with the fake, then a nice kiss off the glass. Not much for Joe Harrington to worry about in this one. Planalto, Brazil couldn't put up much of a fight. Not with shots like this and this. Badly missed baseliner here. Donk off the side of the backboard. Didn't even hit the rim. And another fine shot from Brazil. This guy moves, walks. Nice walk. Here's another nice shot from Planalto, Brazil. Have you seen enough yet? You kind of get the point. Planalto, Brazil wasn't much of a matchup for CU. But at least 1,400 showed up to see the Buffs play in this one, get their first win on the season at the Event Center. Chauncey Billups finished the game with 10 points and 4 assists. Martise Moore had 10 points, 6 boards to go with Billups there. And CU's next game will be against Marathon Oil Monday night, 7 o'clock at the Event Center. So come out and see the Buffs play. Probably a little bit more difficult team than Planalto, Brazil. That's right. But either way, it was a good game. They worked the kinks out, and Chauncey Billups had his first chance to start at point guard running this offense for CU.
Chauncey Billups, what a good addition to the CU team. I hope that it really boosts up attendance for the men's basketball games. We really need it. And I think Chauncey Billups being from the Denver area, I think that will happen this year. That's
right. The George Washington Store, 3-time Mr. Colorado basketball here, and pretty much a prodigy child coming into CU. Joe Harrington was glad he got him to play point guard here after losing Donnie Boyce as well. But up next we have women's basketball, and what kind of news you got for us?
Well, the CU women's basketball team opened up the 95 season with a win, a 63-56 win over New Mexico State Wednesday night. The game was one of 8 in the first round of the NIT preseason tournament. Lori Weathers led the team with 18 points, and Amy Palmer followed with 14. Let's head out to the Event Center and take a look at some highlights. Seal Berry had her team off and running last night against the Roadrunners of New Mexico State. Here Lori Weathers gets a pass from Amy Palmer, throws it up and gets clobbered and still makes the shot. Here's a nice follow-up from Reagan Scott. And how about this pretty DC Thomas turnaround? She finished the game with 13 points. Here's what I think the key point to the game was. The Roadrunners were giving the Buffs trouble with their press, but then Amy Palmer hits back-to-back three-pointers to pad the lead. This shot made by Aaron Schultz made the win complete. The final score was 63-56. The 14th ranked Buffs will take on Utah Friday in the second round of the NIT conference. So the women come into this season ranked a little bit lower than head coach Seal Berry would like, but she's never been one to worry about rankings.
No, Seal Berry, all she cares about is getting to the NCAA tournament, and she can do all of her work from there. They just need to have a good preseason, get their wins that they need in the Big 8. They've been picked again by the coaches in the Big 8 to finish in first place for the third time in a row. But Seal Berry is a great coach. She just needs to make sure that they get the wins, get to the Big 8 tournament, wrap that up, and then head off to the NCAA. And after that, that's where they do all their work. So rankings don't matter at all until when you get into the NCAA. You just got to beat some teams. Let's take a look at the top 10 teams here in the nation so far. UConn, the returning national champion, stays in the number 1 ranking. Georgia, you see right there, the team that upset CU in the Elite 8 last year to go on and have a great season. They are ranked number 2. You go on down the line. Tennessee, of course, always starting the season in the top 10, a great team, as well as Stanford, Penn State, Purdue, Arkansas, and Colorado falls is down there in 14, like we said earlier. That doesn't really concern Seal Berry, I'm sure, but Colorado usually starts ranked a little bit higher this year, but they lost some good seniors last year. Shelly Sheets, one of the greatest players ever to play at CU, and Isabella Fidzikowski, the 6'5 center from France, who had a great season here last year, led the Buffs in scoring. So ranking is not that important, but still they have to be there. So
yeah, the combination of Shelly Sheets and Isabel Fidzikowski did make up 40% of CU's scoring last year, so they've got a pretty big task ahead of them this year.
They do. They got some tough teams to play too. They also are involved. They're going to be involved in 4 preseason tournaments this year, the most ever for the women's team, which is a lot of respect for this team still being invited to that many preseason tournaments. But the NIT is the first one. They have to host Utah this week, and hopefully they'll be able to wrap it up, do it right here at the Event Center. We're going to take a break here in the CU Sports Magazine. When we come back, we'll have buff bits for you and some volleyball news, so stay with us.
It takes so little to save our rivers and oceans for future generations. If we use less toxic household cleaners, we protect a little. Fewer lawn care chemicals, a little more. And recycling used motor oil gains us so much. In fact, there are many things we can do in our everyday lives that can help stop water pollution forever. Clean water. If we all do a little, we can do a lot. Brought to you by the Natural Resources Defense Council and the Ad Councils of the U.S. and Japan.
For future generations, our country is leaving behind our knowledge, our technologies, our values, and 190 million tons of garbage every year. Recycling alone just can't do it. Keep America Beautiful is an organization that can do something. We have solutions that have worked in cities and towns across the country. What can you do? More than you think. Call Keep America Beautiful for your free brochure and find out.
In Salisbury, Maryland, the hungry are being fed. In Wind Falls, Indiana, a man who learned to read at 47 is making sure others learn earlier. In Hope, New Mexico, people turned an abandoned school into a thriving community center. In Boston, Massachusetts, neighbors set up a crime hotline that's making their streets safer. From Seattle to Galveston, from Buffalo to Fargo, every day, someone in America is doing something to light up another life. But there is so much more to do. The light to do it is within us all. We only need to share it. Contact the Points of Light Foundation. Do something good. Feel something real.
Welcome back to the CU Sports Magazine. There's lots of cross-country news this week. The men's and women's teams fared pretty well last week. The men finished first at the NCAA District 7 Championships, while the women came in second. Sophomore Adam Goucher defended his title by winning the 10K race despite a sore right knee. For the women, junior Colleen Glides finished second behind BYU's Janeth Kazalatin, who won her second straight individual title. After winning the meet, the men's team dropped from number 2 to number 3 in the national polls. And for most of the year, the women who were ranked number 1 in the nation, but despite a second place finish in the meet, the women dropped 4 spots to number 5. The cross-country teams are now preparing for the NCAA Championships held on November 20th in Ames, Iowa. In other track news, Coach Mark Wetmore has been named the cross-country and track head coach. Wetmore has been on the CU staff since 1992, and he replaces Jerry Quiller, who left CU last July to coach at Army. And women's coach Toby Jacober was named the Big 8 Women's Cross Country Coach of the Year last week. She is the first female ever to win the award. So congratulations to the teams and the coaches, and good luck in Ames, Iowa next week.
All right, we've got more football news this week in Buff Bits. The Big 12 will come together for the first time next year when the Big 8 absorbs 4 teams from the Southwest Conference. The Big 12 will consist of 2 divisions, one North and one South. All 12 teams voted this week to play a conference championship game each year to determine the Big 8 champion. The first game will take place on December 7th, 1996, and the game will be played in St. Louis every year. On a side note, the vote was not unanimous, however. It's believed that Nebraska was the only holdout to vote no, probably because they don't want to have to add another tough game to their already hard conference schedule, and not to mention their non-conference schedule, playing teams like Wyoming and Pacific. Ooh, tough one there. Now let's take a look at CU's bowl picture today, as the Buffs, the best thing they can do this week is to go out and beat Kansas State in Manhattan, and if they do that, they can lock up the Cotton Bowl and hopefully a New Year's Day bowl berth. The Cotton Bowl will have a representative in Manhattan at Saturday's game, and they will most likely offer a bid to the winner of that game. The other team going to the Cotton Bowl will probably be the number 2 team from the Pac-10, either Washington or Oregon. And if CU were to lose today, they would probably be looking at a Christmas Day game in Honolulu, Hawaii. That's right, it would be back to the Aloha Bowl for CU. The Buffs defeated Fresno State 2 years ago there, if you recall, in the 1993 Aloha Bowl, where Trent Dilfer had a record day throwing for over 500 yards against the CU defense, but the final score, CU won that one, and that's all that counts. And also, Matt Russell didn't make the cut for the final 3 Butkus Award nominees, so that's too bad for Matt. He's a great defensive player and the leaders on one of these defensive teams. He should have been in that final 3, I think, Michelle.
Yeah, very, very likely. He's a great leader on the defensive team, and it's too bad. It's very too bad. The CU volleyball team guaranteed themselves a spot in the Big 8 tournament by beating Oklahoma 3-1 Wednesday night. The win was CU's 6th straight and brings their record to 16-9. CU followed a familiar course by losing the first game to the Sooners, but rallied to win the next 3. The Buffs entered the match in a 3-way tie for second place with Oklahoma and Iowa State. The win knocked Oklahoma out of the race, and a win against Kansas State on Saturday, the Buffs could lock up second for the Big 8. CU takes on the Wildcats right here in Boulder. You can catch the game live right here on Channel 55 at 7:30. This match is the last home game for CU's only senior, Leah Williams. She will be honored before her final match at Coors Event Center. CU's had a nice late season rally, even with all the injuries that they've sustained over the year.
Yeah, they have, and they've really needed it here right now too, because they've been up and down all year with those injuries. They've lost some of their senior leadership last year with the loss of Stacy Wolf and I forgot her name. But they did. They have to go ahead and win out this year. All right. That's all we have for this week. We'll see you next week. We hope you'll join us on CU Sports Magazine next week. For Michelle Post, I'm Todd Gary. We'll see you.